History of Anime Part 2, World War I and World War II, 1914 to 1945. Firstly, I want to thank all of you for helping AnimeeTribee cross 500 subs. Thanks so much for watching my videos. Thank you for subbing, thank you for liking, commenting, and bringing AnimeeTribee to life. I'm going to keep striving to improve as an AniTuber and entertainer and earn your love for AnimeeTribee video by video. Thanks so much. The World Wars have an important place in the history of anime because anime's flames were fueled by government investment, which turned a once under-financed industry into the booming anime industry we see today. Animation before the wars depended heavily on sponsorship, which meant that animators were making PR films for companies, educational films for government, and eventually works of propaganda for the military. Pre-war animators also faced many difficulties. First, there was a lot of competition, both national and international. The top animators at the time were mostly foreign, like Disney. On top of being the leading animators in the world, Disney was also very influential on audiences and other producers. So in most countries, Disney was the company to beat. Secondly, by the time foreign animations were circulated in Japan, they'd already made their profits abroad, so they were being sold cheaper in the Japanese market for lower prices than the domestic animators, which meant it was harder for Japanese animators to break even because people usually chose the cheapest product. So Japanese animators had to work very cheaply on small budgets in small companies with only a handful of employees, which then made it difficult to compete with foreign products that had bigger budgets, better technology that included color and sound, and better promotion. This all made it harder to be a Japanese animator because they were essentially competing against better produced animations that were being sold for cheaper. When European and US cartoons were introduced to Japan in 1914, they inspired Japanese creators like Oten Shimokawa, Saitaro Kitayama, and Junichi Koichi, who are all known today as the fathers of anime. These three leading figures were responsible for the first anime short films in Japan, but we'll speak more about them later. The second generation animators in the late 1910s focused mainly on propaganda films. By 1917, the first Japanese produced animation started coming out. The oldest surviving animated films from 1917 include Otogawa Shinzo Gate of the Entrance, which was made in January 1917 by Shimokawa, followed by Bumpy New Picture Book, Failure of a Great Plan, which was released in February 1917, then Koichi's Namakura Gatana, translating to The Dull Sword, released in June 1917. So let's discuss the three founding fathers of anime, Shimokawa, Koichi, and Kitayama. Oten Shimokawa was a political caricaturist and cartoonist who worked for the Tokyo Puck magazine. At some point, he was hired as an animator by the studio Tenkatsu, but he had a lot of medical problems, so he was only able to make 5 movies before he returned to his original job. Junichi Koichi was also a caricaturist and a painter who studied watercolor painting. In 1912, he also started out as a cartoonist before he was hired as an animator in 1916. He's actually remembered for being the most technically advanced Japanese animator of his time, producing around 15 movies in his lifetime, which was a lot considering the limited technology of that time period. The third father of anime was Saitaro Kitayama, who is the only one of these three that started out as an independent animator, making animations on his own. He actually founded his own animation studio at some point, but he had to close this down due to a lack of commercial success for the reasons we discussed earlier in the video. As I mentioned in part 1, a lot of works were lost to the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923, including works from the fathers of anime such as Namakura Gatana and Urashima Taro. One of the reasons Disney had an edge over Japanese animation was because they had access to cell animation technology. Until the mid-1930s, Japanese animation used cutout animation instead of cell animation because cell animation was too expensive for them. Regardless, animators like Kenzo Masoka and Mitsuyo Shio tried to bring Japanese animation up to the level of foreign work by introducing cell animation, sound, and multi-plane camera technology. Masoka created the first talking anime released in 1933, and the first anime made entirely using cell animation, whilst Seo was the first to use multiplane camera technology in Ari-chan in 1941. During the wars, censorship and school regulations discouraged film viewing by children, so educational anime was commissioned and encouraged by the Monbushi, the Ministry of Education. In the 1930s, the Japanese government began enforcing more cultural nationalism, so censorship and control of published media was more enhanced. Animators were urged to produce animations that enforced the Japanese spirit. These works were then distributed all over Japan, which boosted the industry. As a result, bigger companies formed to begin more anime production. This newfound government support allowed the creators like Masoka and Shio to improve their technique and produce educational material and propaganda, allowing them to compete with the likes of Disney by the 1930s. By the 1940s, the Imperial Japanese Army had commissioned many films that showed the Japanese people winning against their enemy forces. So anime was able to cement its role in scholastic, political, and industrial use. Both world wars had a domino effect on Japanese animation, gifting the anime industry with the support it needed to compete with foreign animation and flourish throughout Japan. I really hope you enjoyed the second part of the history of anime series. Part 3 will be about anime after the wars, and hopefully you're gonna enjoy that one too. Please give this video a like to show your support. You guys really smashed the 17 like goal in the last video. So for part 3, I'm going to ask for 27 likes before I release the next one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments if you think I missed anything below. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, thank you, bye!